Namaste, everyone. I want to offer you a practice today that is rooted in the theme of balance. Although I've lately been coming more into the word of harmony versus balance. Balance, to me anyway, feels like you're trying to level the scale of something that you've labeled good and bad, whereas harmony is just coexisting. In our life we strive for this harmony, right, between work and play, effort and relaxation, etc. And so in our practice today, we're going to, the vinyasa part, the standing part, will work into some balance poses from a standing position where we'll utilize a lot of core muscle and a lot of micro muscle. And then when we get down to our yin part, we'll work some stretches for the quads and the hamstrings, these legs that kind of get us through our day and through our life. So we're going to start standing at the top of our mat. So we're going to start in a pose called ragdoll, and you're just going to let your feet be maybe about hip width apart. And we're going to fold over the legs. Arms can just kind of hang like a ragdoll. If you feel like you need some support, you could take a hold of opposite elbow or bicep. And then that's going to give you a little bit of weight and a little bit more of a stretch through the spine. So if you're carrying some tension there, maybe that's what you choose to do tonight or today. Then we're going to bring those hands to the shins. Let's come up about halfway. Now typically as we come up into this half forward fold, we automatically kind of shift weight into our heels. So we're going to let that actually happen in this practice right now, in this moment. Because as you do that, you'll feel that you have to engage some hamstrings, some glute, and a little bit of core to keep you from landing on your butt. Exhale, rock forward a little bit, fold back over. Head heavy, chin towards the chest. Maybe a little sway here in the feet, side to side. So just rocking weight from one pinky toe side of the foot to the other. Gives you a nice little bit of an opening in those IT bands as well. And then we're going to pause in the center. Hands to those shins, come up about halfway. Lengthen through that spine. Little bit of effort into the ball and heel of the foot. Keep that spine long. Prayer hands at the heart. Inhale, we'll bring the torso up. A little bit of core effort there. Keep your feet about hip width apart. We're going to start to rock forward and back. And then as you rock forward into the ball and toes of the feet, the heels maybe leave the floor for a second. And then as you rock back into the heels, same thing with the toes, just for a moment, in a fraction. Now, the next time that we rock forward, let's lift those heels maybe about half an inch. Now this is already starting to warm up the muscles that we will utilize in our balance poses, these little micro muscles in our feet, ankles, and legs. And then heels down, shift a little bit weight there, pick up the toes. Same actions happening. Try to keep your torso upright rather than hinging forward. Caught myself doing that. Rock forward, see if the heels can come up a wee bit higher. Wee bit is a very technical yoga measurement. Heels down. It's not. Lift the heels and maybe a little bit of the ball of the foot. Good. Then when we lay everything down, let's start to rock side to side a little bit. And the next time you rock to the right, lift that left foot off the floor a bit. And then when the left foot comes down, side to side, lift that right foot up a little bit. Good. Then foot to the floor. Walk your feet a little closer towards each other. Inhale, arms coming up overhead. Exhale, let's fold out over those legs. Halfway up on the inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold over. Arms out to the side. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. One more time like that. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold over. Halfway up. Exhale, fold. Arms out to the side. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. We're going to do one more, but we're going to add lunges in. Reach up on that in-breath. Exhale, fold over your legs. Come up about halfway. Let's step that left foot back as we lunge into this right leg. Bringing down that left knee. Now left toes, let's go ahead and curl them for this particular pose. And getting that right knee over that right ankle. Bringing the right hand to that right thigh, stacking up your torso. Of course, I picked the shirt that wants to ride up tonight. Lunge into that left leg. Press that left hip forward. Hello, hip flexors. These muscles are going to help us in that stepping forward and stepping back from our standing position. Arms up alongside the head. Let your right hand take a hold of that left wrist. You're not yanking that arm out of socket. You're just giving it a little extra tug, and then maybe a little lean to the right. Now, as you do that, you'll really have to step down into that right big toe and press the tops of those left toes into the mat to keep you from toppling over. Let's come back to center. Hands to our mat. Left foot up to meet the right foot. Halfway up on the inhale. Exhale as we fold. Let's step that right foot back. Bringing down that right knee. Left hand to left leg. Pressing that right hip forward. I realize you can't see it, but just trust that it's pressing. Shoulders back and down. Arms up alongside the head. Taking a hold of that left wrist with the right hand. A slight lean to the right. So root down into the back of, or the top rather, of those right toes. That's the foot in the back. And root down into that left big toe, the foot in the front. Good. And let's come back up to center. Exhale, hands to your mat. Right foot up to meet your left foot. Halfway up on that inhale. Exhale, fold. Arms out to the side. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to your hips. So let's roll those shoulders back and down. Slightly tuck that tailbone down. There's a difference between letting that tailbone feel heavy and kind of like clenching those glutes. So a little rock back and forth. We're going to root down into that right foot. Let's lift that left heel. Now as that left heel lifts up, we want to keep that left hip level with the right. Then we'll just pick the left foot off the floor so it's just hovering above the mat. There's a weeble wobble action that happens in that right ankle, right leg. We want that to happen actually. Then left foot down, root down into that left foot. Pick up that right heel. Again, engage your belly. Pull those front ribs into your back ribs. Let that right foot just hover off the mat. This could be the shape that you return to throughout the practice today. Then right foot down. Inhale up. Exhale, let's fold over those legs. Left foot back. Left knee down. Coming up into a low lunge. Let those palms face forward so that we can lay those shoulder blades onto the back. One more breath. Good. Exhale, hands to the floor, left foot up to meet your right foot. Come up about halfway. Exhale, right foot back, right knee down. Inhale, up into that low lunge. This could be the shape of the lunge for you for the rest of the class. Take another inhale. Exhale, hands to the floor. Right foot up to meet your left foot. Find some length in that spine. Exhale over. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, hands to your heart. All right, so we're going to take it up a notch here. So hands to those hips, drawing that belly, drawing those front ribs, open up that chest. Let's see if we can take that left knee maybe as high as that left hip without kind of collapsing over the leg. Then here comes the fun part. Make a little Barbie foot. We're going to step that left foot back and land in our high lunge. Good, shoulders down from those ears. Keep breathing. Then hands back to our hips. Step back up to the top of our mat. Kind of re-engage everything. Pick up that right knee. Right knee as high as your hip. Make your little Barbie doll foot. We'll step back into our high lunge. Good. Again, it's all those little micro muscles kind of helping you here. Good. Hands to the hips. Step back up to the top of your mat. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold over the legs. Option to stay here or to come up a little bit on that inhale. Exhale, take it back to your plank pose. Lock those shoulder blades onto your back. Exhale, either to the belly for cobra or chaturanga. Into up dog. 3 breaths in your back bend. Then exhale. Back to downward facing dog for 3 breaths. Look up at the top of your mat. Step or hop to the top. I'm a stepper, not so much a hopper. Halfway up on the inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to those hips. Now this time, as you settle into that right foot, we're going to pick up that left leg. Again, left knee, maybe as high as that hip. Then we're going to take that leg out to the side. So it's almost like a little like marionette sort of puppet situation. And again, as you let that leg open up out to the side, try to keep that hip from hiking up to your shoulder. Bring the knee back to the front, make that little Barbie doll foot. Step back into your high lunge. Good. We'll add warrior two into the mix by turning down that left heel and lunging into that right leg. Shoulders down from the ears, looking over, front set of fingers. Fantastic. Now the trick is to come back to that shape of high lunge and then step back up to the top. Good. Wade into that left foot. Let's pick up that right knee. Take that leg out to the side. Try not to let yourself timber here. Then knee back to the front, make that little foot. We'll step back to our high lunge. Then we'll turn that into our warrior two. One more breath. Back to that shape of our high lunge. Then let's step up. Reach up those arms. Exhale, dive over those legs. Halfway up on your inhale. Exhale your way back. Remember, you can go to the belly for cobra or chaturanga. Into up dog for 3 breaths. Exhale, back to your down dog. Then looking forward, step or hop to the top. All right, halfway up on your in-breath. Exhale, fold. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good, let's do that one more time. So hands to those hips. Left knee up, out to the side. Drop that tailbone, draw in that belly. Then left foot somewhere inside that right leg, above or below your knee for tree pose. You can take the arms upright, kind of make yourself like a redwood. You can bring hands together, make yourself a little pine tree, or just bring your hands to the heart. I have no name for that one. Angel oak. Then we'll bring the left knee to the front. Step back, land in that high lunge. Good. Let's turn that open into our warrior two. Let's reverse the warrior this time. Then back to our warrior two. Back to our high lunge. Up to our standing position. Hands to our hips. Good. Shift weight into that left foot. Pick up that right knee. Take that leg out to the side. Level your hips, engage your belly. Right foot somewhere inside that left leg. Remember, you just don't want to go to your knee because to some degree you're pushing that supporting leg to the side and you don't want your knee going there. Back to the front. Step back into your high lunge. Shoulders down from those ears. Into your warrior two. Into your reverse warrior. Back to your warrior two. Back to your high lunge. Step up to the top of your mat. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, fold over. Remember, you can stay here or go through your vinyasa. 3 breaths on that back bend. 3 breaths in your downward facing dog. Then from here, we're going to walk our feet about halfway up our mat. And then our hands back to our feet. And we'll roll all the way up, shoulders back and down. We're going to take a sip from our strategically placed glass of water. Now, once we get back to the mat, let's take it about shoulder width or wider with the feet. We're going to turn that left foot in. We're going to turn the right foot out. We're going to have our hands on our hips, kind of like Linda Carter used to do in Wonder Woman. So roll those shoulders back and down. Draw those shoulder blades on your back. We're going into triangle pose. We want to try to keep this heart open and this core engaged. So start to lean over that right leg. Now I will sometimes let this left hip slightly roll in to create a little bit of space for my outer right hip. Then right hand down to the right leg, wherever it feels good. Lengthen that spine, draw on that belly. Now I've got this left hip rolling forward. I want to press my left shoulder back. And then we'll take my arm straight up into the sky. Let's go for 5 breaths here. One more. Micro bend in that knee to help you bring up the torso. Hands to your hips. Do a little pivot here so that you can do the other side. Linda Carter. Nothing against the new Wonder Woman. Left hand down, right hand up. Draw back that top shoulder, that right shoulder. Again, you can let this hip roll forward if needed. One more breath. Micro bend in that knee. Torso is going to come up. Now we're going to go into a balance pose next. So turning those right foots, just the one right foot if you have it. Then you're going to bring your right hand to your mat, kind of forward and off to the side. Left hand to that left hip. Push off that back leg as you straighten that front leg for half moon pose. I like to flex this top foot. Now the same thing may happen. You may have to let this top hip slightly roll in so that you're not pinching that right IT band. That's not a good feeling. One more breath. Then both hands to the floor. We're going to fold over this right leg as we reach and lift through that left leg for a standing split. I always feel mine does not so much look like a split as it does standing on one leg and lifting the other leg up. Left foot next to your right foot. Now you're going to cross that right ankle behind your left ankle. You want to root down into all those toes. You could stay here, or you could roll up. Bring those arms up alongside the head. Let your left hand take a hold of that right wrist, and then take a little lean to the left. Press down into both feet. Drop that tailbone under. Call this one banana stand, as opposed to standing banana. Don't know why. Come back up to the center. Hands to your hips. Uncross those legs. Might give them a little pedal. So we're going to position that left foot like we did for triangle. Left hand, kind of off to the side and forward. Right hand, right hip. Then we're going to push off. Don't worry, I know my head is cut off, but you're not missing a thing. Maybe that right hand reaches up. Root down into those toes, but try not to claw into your foot. 2 more breaths. All right, then hands to the floor. That standing split moment, or that standing on one leg, lifting the other leg. Good, one more breath. Then we'll bring that right foot down. Again, option as you cross that left ankle behind the right to just stay in that forward fold, or to roll your torso up. Bring your arms up alongside the head. Right hand taking hold of that left wrist. And then a side bend to your right. Good. Then we'll bring the torso back up Arms down, uncross, feet about hip width apart. Let's take a little bow over these legs. Again, maybe there's a little sway that kind of happens there. Maybe you're still. Then let's step back to downward facing dog. Maybe one more vinyasa here. And then we'll bring those knees to our mat, hips to our heels, or, excuse me, a brief child's pose. Well, not super brief. Your knees can open up. You could stack your hands on top of each other and rest your forehead there. Or you can take those arms forward and do your child's pose like that. Couple more breaths here. Now for your vinyasa part, you want your breath to start to find its way back to its normal rhythm, not such a structured breath like we do in a vinyasa situation. 2 more breaths. And then we're going to find our way back to downward facing dog. We're going to step our left foot forward this time and bring that right knee down, keeping those right toes curled under. Now the reason we're doing it this way is that we've led with the right foot for this long, so we want to stretch that right quad this time. Now if you feel a little bit more open in the hip flexors and the quad, you could slide this right knee back a little bit. If you feel a little tighter, let your right knee be more under your right hip. Now a block can be helpful here under that right hand. It just gives you a little bit of lift and some breathing room, literally. Now we're going to lunge into this left leg. You're pressing into the ball of this right foot and into this knee. And it's this feeling that you're dropping that leg towards your mat. You're obviously not. But there's your quad stretch, there's your hip flexor stretch. This could be where you stay, or you could draw that right heel towards you, reach back with that left hand, pinky toe, big toe, or tops of toes. And this is going to be our first official yin pose. Try to let your breath relax here. Because this does feel like such an awkward pose, we're not going to hold it like indefinitely. And maybe peel open that left shoulder. Yeah, a little bit of a twist into the mix here. If you're feeling this on that kneecap, maybe come out, put a little blanket or pillow or something underneath it. Always love this pose for people who think that yin is an easy practice. You know, throw them in this pose and they'll probably change their tune. Just a few more breaths here. All right, now when you let go of that right foot, try not to smack it to the floor. Let it re-land pretty easy. And then if you have that block under your hand, just move it to the side. Ease out of your lunge a little bit so you can swing that leg around. Maybe a little cat-cow moment here. And then you can either come into the other side from downward facing dog. Wow, I went real southern there. Downward facing dog. Or tabletop. So it would be your right foot forward, curling those left toes under. Maybe the block is under that left hand. So it's the same thing. You might not be able to reach the foot on this side. All of us have a side that's a little bit more cooperative than the other. My left side tends to not be so cooperative, so we'll see how that goes tonight. If that's where you find yourself, you're just, again, that feeling of dropping that hip and thigh towards the floor. Otherwise, draw that left heel up behind you, reach back, what do you know, and grab it. I would say try to keep this front foot, this right foot, firmly planted versus kind of rolling onto the pinky toe side of that foot. Just kind of keep your knee a little bit more stable and steady. You can add that little bit of a twist into the mets. I don't know what accent that just was. Not saying much because my back is to you. I'm not being rude. My mother would be so pleased. And just a few more breaths here. Right, again, when you let go of that back foot, try not to crash to the floor. All right, so then we can move our block to the side. We're going to swing that right leg back to meet the left into a little bit of tabletop. Let's just kind of cat-cow it here. And then we're just going to take a few breaths in child's pose. Paul Grilly calls this your rebound moment. So this is where you kind of feel what's going on, especially in those front legs. Just about 3 breaths here. And we're going to come back up. Let's see how close we can bring our knees together. So if you can get your knees together and then your feet about hip width apart, we'll see if we can sit down between those feet. If you don't reach the floor, you could put a block or a small pillow or a folded blanket or the corner of a bolster there. But if you don't feel any stress in your knees or your ankles, you don't have to put anything under there. I'm like a good inch or two off the floor, but it's not terribly distressing to my knees. And you could even open up the knees a little bit if that feels better for you. Roll your shoulders back and down. We're going to drop our chin towards our chest. Now as our chin drops down, try to draw your shoulder blades back so that you're not rounding forward here. And then you might bring one hand or both hands to the back of the head. Not in an effort to pull on it or get it to drop heavier, but just a little extra traction to stretch the back of the neck. I'm not going to talk much because my voice sounds funny from this position.
If that ever feels like too much on the neck, feel free to bring the hands away from the head and just drop them alongside you. I sometimes will make fists and kind of press those fists into the soles of my feet, so it almost becomes like a little bit of an acupressure thing. We're just going to stay here for about 15 more seconds. Then lift your head with some control. I like to bring my hands forward, bring my ankles together, then plop over to a hip, swing those legs around. Might have to give those knees a little rub, pedal out the legs, maybe move them in and out. Good. So we've done all we're going to do, I think, for the quadriceps. We're going to move into these hamstrings next. A lot of times when we have some tenderness or some issues in the low back, a lot of times it's these hamstrings that are so tight that they're kind of like pulling us back like this. So we're going to do a couple of things for these hamstrings. You're going to cross your right ankle over your left, and try not to flex the feet so that you're kind of pulling against. You want your feet to be a little bit neutral there. I find I have to kind of lean side to side, pull some junk out the trunk. And then you could plant hands on the floor. If you had two blocks, you could put them there. If you had a bolster, you could put that on top of your legs. And then just let yourself round. So here we are going to let our shoulders kind of round forward. And head's going to feel a little heavy. If it feels like that crossing of the leg is pulling on that right hip, feel free to bring the sole of the right foot to the inside of the left leg and just do the pose that way. You'll still get this left hamstring and you'll get that right outer hip both ways. Kind of do a little scan to make sure you're not gripping anywhere. I find sometimes when I do this pose, I'll either sort of unconsciously flex one or both feet or point the toes, try to wiggle them out, let them be neutral, or I'll find that I kind of squeeze the glutes, like I'm trying to levitate off the mat. It's yet to happen. I've yet to leave the ground. About 10 more seconds here. Right, imagine you have your back up against a wall and you're just rolling up, stacking the vertebrae on top of each vertebrae. You get to the top, you roll those shoulders down, your head's the last thing to come up. We'll uncross the leg, and then your right leg is a little bit longer than your left. I always think that's such an interesting observation to make because it just shows you like how much you hold on into these hips and hamstrings. All right, let's go ahead and just cross that left ankle over the right. Again, kind of wiggle out those feet a little bit. It's doubtful your junk got back in your trunk, so you could just go ahead and hinge forward. And keep it in mind, if this this side has been your less cooperative side throughout the practice, throughout your whole practice, or throughout your life, there's a good chance it's going to be less cooperative here. It's rare that it changes within the course of a class. And again, you could always bring the sole of that left foot to the inside of that right leg. Again, just kind of scan that you're not clinching anywhere. Again, I find sometimes, especially on this side, that I try to do that clenching of the glutes to like lift up out of the pose. It doesn't help. It just creates more tension. About 10 more seconds here. I've dubbed this one cross leg caterpillar. We're going to do regular leg caterpillar here in just a moment. Up here, uncross, legs are back to the same length, yay. Maybe roll them in a little bit. Now this time you're going to keep your feet about shoulder width or hip width apart, and we're just going to fold over. You could bring your hands onto the legs if you feel like you need some support there. This will be our last forward fold of the practice today. Do that little scan. Some other places that you might add in, or that you're not drawing the shoulders up to the ears, that you're not clenching the jaw, or that you're not making angry eyebrows, like you don't want to be like this. We'll do about 10 more seconds. All right, a few bonus seconds. So start to flex your feet and engage your legs a little bit. Find a little length in your spine and engage your belly. Then use the hands to sort of walk towards you to bring up the torso. Oh, I love that one so much. Hands alongside the hips. Roll your shoulders back and down. Maybe a slight arch of the back. So we're going to do a back bend. Sphinx pose is where we're going. If you have a bolster, you could bring a bolster along with you to kind of have up under your shoulders. Otherwise, come onto your belly. Elbows up under the shoulders. So you're propped up on the forearms, elbows. Feet maybe a little wider than the hips. We're just going to hold this for about not even full yin kind of shape here, or time rather. Just for about maybe 10 breaths to counter those forward folds. If you feel like you want more, you can take your hands a little wider and straighten your arms into seal pose. Might even tip the chin up. If that feels like too much, you can always return to your Sphinx. About 4 more breaths here. All right, then we're going to slide those elbows back up into our little tabletop pose. Maybe a little cat-cow. Finding your way onto your seat. So we're going to do a twist and a hip opener just because I can't imagine not doing a hip opener. So we're going to go into a seated twist. You're going to have your left leg out onto the floor, and you're going to step the right foot to the outside of that left leg. You can also bring that left heel to the outside of the right knee. If none of this feels particularly agreeable, just find a cross-leg position with your right leg in front. Again, we're not going to go like yin time here. So what I like to do is kind of lean back a little bit to kind of get my belly out of the way. Then we'll come into that twist for about 10 breaths. So twisting to the right. Just for about 3 more breaths. A very mindful unwinding. We'll switch out the legs. You did the cross leg, left leg in front. Right hand to your left knee, left hand behind you. Again, lean back a little bit if you're doing this one with me. Taking your twist to the left. Step down into that left foot. Draw this thigh towards you. About 3 more breaths. And then we're going to release that twist. Undo those legs. Bring the soles of the feet together. 10 breaths in butterfly pose. So just lean forward as much as you desire. If you want to stay a little bit more upright and keep your spine long, you can certainly do that. Or you can bring those hands to the floor and just round into it. Two more breaths. And we're going to roll the torso up. Roll those shoulders back and down. Bring your knees together. Deep breath in. Big exhale out. And from here, I invite you to come down onto your back. Going into Shavasana, but we'll do a little bit of breath work before we get there. So we're going to play on a variation of the box breath or the square breath. And the variation is just going to be that we're going to sort of get progressive with the breath, whereas in the traditional format, it's one breath throughout the whole time. So find your comfortable place on your back. If you want something under your knees, you could do a bolster. You could put your legs up onto a chair. Or if you're by a wall, you could do legs up the wall. And then one hand on belly, one hand on heart. Taking a deep breath in. Open the mouth, exhale. So on that next inhale, breathe into the count of 3. Hold for 3. Exhale for 3. Hold for 3. Again, inhale 3, hold, exhale, hold. Let's see if we can go for 4. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Again, inhale 4, hold, exhale, hold. Let's see if we can go for 5. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. Good, one more time. Inhale, hold, breathe out. Good. Deep breath in. Big open mouth exhale. Again, big breath in. Big open mouth exhale. I encourage you to stay here in this shape of Shavasana for another 5 to 7 minutes if you have it. If you need to get on with your day, by all means, feel free to do that as well. But I'm grateful for you practicing with me today, and I hope that you can find the balance and harmony, not just in your practice, but within your life. Namaste.